Dr. Aphra is finally getting a really significant lift inside of Galaxy of Heroes with the arrival of IG-90. I'm very excited for us to get prepared for IG-90's release because, again, I think we're going to get a very good squad with this by just one character. But before we get into all that stuff, I want to just make a few quick notes. Sorry for releasing this a day late. I meant for this to come out yesterday, but life happened, so my apologies for that. Also, just to give you guys a time frame of where we're at in Galaxy of Heroes, The Stranger just released, and so if there's anything that's added to this afterwards, you'll have to come into the Discord below to see if this modding holds up. I do plan on updating these if there's something very significant, but for now, just know that that's where we're at. So let's go ahead and get prepared for IG-90, guys. Okay, so let's talk about the agenda. As always with these, if you guys are new to these, the whole reason why we're creating these is now with the era system, we're just going to get like 7 characters dumped on us all at once, depending on if we have a conquest character that comes in, around the same time. That's a lot of ability materials. That's a lot of gear. That's a lot of mods. It's a lot of teams to think about. So that's what we want to cover here in the agenda. So let's go into ability materials. So you will need 31 Omegas. I like to include Omegas because I realize that in the early game, Omegas are still a crunch, and that's how many you'll need. Don't ignore the -16 part that was supposed to be erased. We will need 20 Zetas as well. Listen, the Zeta I'm gonna rank as very good. Basically, it's whenever you deal damage to a marked enemy, all scoundrel allies and the droid that Aphra summons are going to gain 5% offense, which is stacked up to at least 80 or to a max of 80%. And they're going to be able to recover 5% health. And we'll get into why that is actually really important a little bit later with modding. I think it'll make sense, but that's very good, especially because I think you're going to label that mark quite often. You're going to be dealing a lot of damage. Getting that extra offense is going to be really good. Help you get, your BT1, some quick kills, or quicker kills, I should say. So I'm going to rank this Zeta as very good. I don't think it's maybe like essential, but I think it's very, very good. So I think you're not going to want to skip on that. As for the Omicron, this is a Territory Wars Omicron. That's, I'm just going to leave that up to you guys, right? Like there's different eras of, or like there's different levels of how people want to go about Omicrons. This is just what I get from reading the Omicron. If your goal is to counter Jabba, I don't think you really need to apply this Omicron. Just from the text that I see pre-Omicron, I think that IG-90 is going to do a fine job at doing that anyways. A lot of the things that could go wrong, with the Aphra counter that, you can kill Aphra, right? Or you can kill Jabba right now with Aphra. But there are some cases where, if they go and target Aphra right away, then it's an instant loss. If they go and, especially if they kind of get enough thermals on you, it can kind of go wrong. So there's a lot that can go into that, but you can do it right now without IG-90. But in the future with IG-90, his kit without the Omicron, I think gives you enough leeway that you're going to have a 95% counter kind of thing. So long as you're modded correctly and you have the other things set in place, I don't think you necessarily need the Omicron. What does the Omicron add you? Well, maybe there's other squads, maybe there's GLs that still need to get countered. I think that maybe opens that door. I also think that there's a very good potential that with the Omicron, you could just place Aphra on defense and make your opponent figure it out. But all that to be said, I don't think the Omicron is a necessary add, but it is very good. So if you guys are looking to boost up your Aphra squad in Territory Wars, this is a very, very, very good Omicron. Okay, let's go into gear. All right, so the big thing that I like to point out is that this is all the gear that is over 100 pieces, just so that way hey, like there's multiple pieces of this. You're not going to need just one. And then the big thing is a visual representation of how many of the chirotechs you'll need. You'll need 250 of the computers, and you'll need 150 of the shock prods. I love this because IG-90 is quite simple, so we can kind of talk about a little bit more theory and stuff like that, but this should be pretty straightforward, and I'm very excited for you guys to kind of give me your feedback. But just to let you guys know, an overview at Gear 13, there's a 36,000, almost 37,000K health pool, and there's a 62,000 protection pool. Now, what I found really interesting is that essentially, and that's not even essentially, from Gear 13 to Relic 8, that protection pool is completely frozen. Everything that you get into the health pool. So that's why you're going to want to add a lot of relics. So I'm just telling you that right now as, hey, this isn't really a Relic 3 character. It's probably not even a Relic 5 character, right? You're going to want to get them to 7, maybe 8. So that way you can get that health pool increased. The big reason why we want to increase the health pool, and this will go into modding as well, if you guys want to look ahead, but he is going to make that all your allies, in the Afra squad are going to be spawning with 100% bonus protection. Now, quick little history guide on bonus protection. It's all based on max health. So you're going to want to make them as tanky as possible, right? Anyone that's ever fought, Jabba with Afra knows that at the end of the day, you really do want some tank and some bulk in there. So that way you can hopefully kind of mitigate the damage that your thermals are doing, and just kind of go on from that. So just to let you guys know, this does look like it's going to be a high relic character. The other notable things there's really not too much other than tenacity. Tenacity is very key in his kit, because every debuff that he resists, he's going to give Afra 5 siphon. And those that have played with Afra before know that as long as you're getting those siphons, that's when you're really going to see the ramping damage. That's how you're really going to kind of scale up in your damage. So just to let you guys know, like, that tenacity pool is pretty good as is. So I think we want to magnify that, and that might play into how we might switch this modding. But for right now, I do have 4 health sets and 2 tenacity. The reason why 4 health sets is because, listen, we want to have that bonus protection. And I think with 2 tenacity, because so many people are running a speed potency build on Boush Leia, I really just don't think there's that much room for us to hopefully punch up and get the amount of tenacity that's needed to resist all of her debuffs. But that being said, there are a lot of debuffs on the team that you could potentially resist, without, trying to go all the way up into like the 160 percentile for tenacity. And even then, it wouldn't even be a guaranteed. So that's why I'm saying, at this point, hey, like, let's focus on primary for the circle being health percentage, primary on the triangle being health percentage, primary on the cross, like I said, could switch in between health or maybe tenacity percentage. And then whatever you guys aren't getting on that, you're going to want health percentage, you're going to want tenacity. Sorry, again, I realize now that maybe the latest version of this didn't update, but that triangle is not supposed to say fast speed secondary. Really, we don't need him to be fast. Just think about health and tenacity. And if we have health as our primary, then how much tenacity can we add? We still want him decently fast, obviously, but it doesn't have to be breakneck speed. So that's really the gist of it. Defense, where we can also find it, because it helps kind of mitigate some of the damage that we take. But in the future as well, because of the fact that he's going to help spawn your allies like Afra and BT1, you might want to also register those into health as well. Before, I know a lot of people, including myself, we were running protection loaded Afras, because if you had Datacron and you got really crafty with how you modded it, a lot of people were just using CLS to kill, and we all know that CLS has exposes, which is percent health damage. but luckily now that's not really going to be a thing. You could just gun down Afra immediately, but now she's going to start with stealth, so that's not really going to be a concern in the future. So I think you're going to want to take a look at your whole squad, health mod them as much as possible, just to give them that extra bulk with the 100% bonus protection that IG-90 is going to add. All right, and last but not least, again, I love how simple IG-90 is. Just act like IG-86 in this picture is IG-90. This is the squad that I'm going to run. Me personally, there's a few reasons why. Obviously, Dr. Afra is a no-brainer. BT1 and 000 are no-brainers. Really, what we're talking about here is, do you want to use IG-88? Do you want to use, something like, I really don't even think B2 is like applicable at this point. I don't think IG-86 is applicable. There is some nice things that have, happened with IPD, but now that there won't be a target lock synergy there, it's a little bit harder. But your IG-88 can inflict target lock, and if you have his Zeta, he stops healing. So that's something that's pretty nice. That's why I have him there. And then obviously IG-90, he's the new, unit in this team, and I think he's going to be really good. So that should cover it for this, being prepared for IG-90. Let me know if I forgot anything. Sorry again for some of the, must not have saved my most recent copy, but hopefully it's not too confusing. If you need any help, please leave a comment down below. More than welcome, or more than willing to kind of, help out or clarify anything that maybe was confusing. As always too, you guys have been pointing out great things in the comment section below, so check those out, and join the Discord if you guys don't feel comfortable posting on YouTube or whatever. But thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.